Hey, ladies and gentlemen, real talk though. Listen, hey, we're looking to go beyond measures. Hey, we're looking to go beyond limits. Hey, we're looking to make history. Hey, we're looking to pull an ultra rare optic card that's more rare compared to other sports cards been pulled around the world and shit like that every day and hit it big on eBay. Yeah! Hey, ladies and gentlemen, real talk. We ain't anybody playing with y'all out of the Hey, we're looking to pull an ultra rare number card number real low and get a great player that get an uber rare card that makes waves around the internet and causes get nudged and we go viral on YouTube. So without further ado, let's crack open these two and hit it big, boo. Yeah, y'all know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. Real talk, dude. Real talk, dude.
And get a tooth.
Jacob and Paul tell. Y'all hear my wife picking on my front tooth?
Here's the Triple B and Joe B, Joe B and the Triple B, baby, Triple B and Joe B, rock cocked and Joe Morales. Triple B and Joe B, Joe B and the Triple B, baby, Triple B and Joe B, rock cocked and Joe Morales. We're coming in, only seeking the truth about JFK. It's a long-coming podcast crew. Tell 'em, Joe, here we go.
And ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Lone Gunman Podcast. I'm Rob Clark, the Triple B, Big Bad Bob, Rare Form Rob, whatever you want to call me tonight. Along with me, Joe Borelli. And tonight we got a special treat for you folks. We got a show all about Ricardo Morales Sr. And to do that, we also have here Ricardo Morales Jr., who we will be calling Rick, as much like me, I don't like to be called Robert. Joe doesn't like to be called Joseph. And we like making new friends here. So
You
Rick will
can
be
call
with
me
us.
Joseph sometimes.
That's only when I'm mad at you.
Okay,
Yes.
noted.
When you need to be sternly reprimanded.
Yes, which is quite often.
Yes. Yes, quite often. So, Joe, if you would, please introduce our guest a little better than I just did.
Sure. So I'm just going to bring him on right now, and this is Mr. Ricardo Morales, and he is the son of Monkey Morales, who is also Ricardo Morales Navarrete. Thank you.
It's the Cuban thing where they give you everybody's name in the family. So he has actually Ricardo Aníbal Morales Navarrete. It's that stupid thing that the
Okay.
Latins do and stick you with 43 names.
It is a running joke on this show, Rick, that I mispronounce everything, and people find it
All right.
hilarious. So,
All right.
and usually we welcome all the people in, but we're going to kind of skip that tonight. But I just want to thank the Double B for his $20 super chat. Quit monkeying around. Welcome all to the best podcast ever. And I also want to congratulate the Double B on his engagement in the last day or two.
Congratulations.
He's a big supporter of our show, Rick. So
Cool.
But yeah, let's get into it. And I want to start off with a funny story.
Sure.
I first messaged you on Twitter, on X.
Yeah.
And when I did, I thought you were the son of David Morales.
David, yes.
And I had heard of Monkey, and Rob and another friend had made fun of me for this. But the other friend said, although that would be a fascinating interview, and conversation. And that's what we're going to have tonight. And yeah, I ordered your book that has come out. What date was it? September?
It came out on the 9th of September.
The 9th of September. I was in Italy, and when I came back, it was waiting for me. It is awesome. The true story of a mythic Cuban exile assassin, CIA operative, FBI informant, smuggler, and dad. So there was no connection between your dad and David Morales, just to make it clear for the audience.
Yeah. No, I'm aware who David Morales is, and I know that there's a very intriguing story there connected with the JFK assassination.
Yeah.
I've read a little bit about him, but there is no connection in the family with him
Got it. So
that
why don't
I am aware of. I just want to say that because I don't. When they were in Cuba, those people, I don't know if they ran into each other or not. So
right.
because my dad did have CIA connections while in Cuba, so like
Right.
Frank Sturgis, Jonas, those kind of people that were all fighting with Castro alongside of Castro that
Yeah.
were CIA. So they could have, known
Yeah.
each other from then. So
And I think he did work with Operation 40 at some point. But why don't we start
correct.
with your description of your dad?
Sure. My dad was born in Cuba, the son of a federal judge under the Batista administration. And while in school, he was in a Jesuit school in high school. They figured out that he had an eidetic memory, so he could remember everything. He would like read a book and remember, and then he would take the test and pass the test, so he wouldn't have to do anything. So he could remember everything. So they put him in the military. They immediately sent him to the military school so he could start learning military things. So they started training him in the military. This is all while Castro has just taken power and is trying to consolidate power in Cuba. So they start training him in shooting explosives and all that stuff. And he spends a little bit of time doing that. And then at some point, Castro regime decides that his connection to the Batista administration through his father being a judge puts a target on my dad's back, and they send his partner at the time, who went by the name of Americano, which makes it's a weird thing, but his name was Americano, and they send Americano to go away and kill him. So my dad finds out through his brother, as they figured it out, and he beats him to my dad and tells him. So when Americano comes into where my dad is, the building that he's in, my dad disarms him and shoots him and kills him. Then they drive off and they drive to the Brazilian embassy, where he spends 82 days in the Brazilian embassy seeking asylum to get out of the country because Castro's trying to kill him. So that's the early stages in Cuba. At that point, after the 82 days, he leaves and goes to Miami. At that point, all our family's gone. Both sides of the family have gone to Miami already. Him and his brother were the last to leave Cuba from the family. Then he arrives in Miami, and upon arrival in Miami, he's recruited into the Cuban groups that are there because of his ability to make bombs and his ability to use guns, and his genius in Cuba gives him the gravitas to, a big figure that they can use. And so they recruit him into what becomes later on Op 40, which is a team of specialized agents, pilots, snipers, whatever specialty they had to form this group. And he begins training, gets more training in bomb making and whatnot. And that's where he is able to also acquire C4 explosives and different type of explosives that they're going to then use in the Cuban power groups in Miami to do what they have to do to fight for to regain power in Cuba. So he spends a lot of time in Miami. In that time, they're just planting bombs everywhere.
Right.
People are different groups.
Your dad is a demolitions expert, right?
Yeah, he's a bomb maker, a sniper, and he can take apart, like he can read a manual on a weapon, remember the instructions, and take it apart and put it back together.
And
his memory is invaluable.
Yeah, and weren't you told at a young age to taught at a young age to look under?
I figured I'd get that.
Look under the cars for car bombs.
Yeah, I was about 11 years old, and we were shopping he had come back from Venezuela. This is like in the 70s. Right. So we're jumping ahead a little bit in time. But he he took me shopping to the Omni. He had just come back from one of his trips from being in Venezuela, and he was shopping at the Omni. It's a brand new mall in downtown Miami, so it's beautiful. And we shop, and I'm having a great day. And then it's one of those covered parking, multi-layer ramps. And as children do, they tend to run ahead of your parents towards the car when you see the car. Most kids, and that's what I did. I try to get to the car quick, and then he yells, "You got to stop and look for a bomb." And I'm like, what the hell are we talking about? And he takes me and he puts me under the car with him, and he shows me, you got to learn what the frame of the car looks like. You got to learn what fuel lines are supposed to look like, so that when you see something that doesn't belong under here that could kill us, you can figure it out and you'll see it. And he looked around and he said, all right, we can get in. We're good. And we got in. And I was like, that was the day I figured, okay, now it's deadly. You know, I till then I had heard bits and pieces as a young kid that he was in the government work and spy and all that, but I didn't put the we could die today till that day.
Wow. That's a crazy thing to learn at 11. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, Operation 40 recruited him, right?
Correct.
Part of the CIA training exiles, but he was not involved with the Bay of Pigs invasion. Correct? He was kind of the
was. What happened with the Bay of what happened with the Bay of Pigs is that Op 40 is the team that's supposed to go in after they've secured the beachheads and all that and gain ground. Operation 40 would then land in to go do sabotage and whatnot. So
parachute. Would they parachute?
Well, they could parachute it. It's because they got pilots, they got planes. You know, supposedly, if we were getting the CIA assistance that we were supposed to get, there would have been either boating them then, because they weren't like on those boats offshore. They were on land. So they were waiting for the invasion to succeed, get a beachhead. And then, like they did in D-Day, you drop the paratroopers inland that are going to go do the sabotaging and get stuff done ahead of the mass forces that are coming in. But when the mission fails, they never get sent in. So they just they got held back. So they're you can see in the papers of the battalions that were going in, 1st Battalion going in, 2nd Battalion going in, and there's paperwork on who was supposed to go when. But they never, since they lost, they never had any air cover or anything anyway. They were not gonna win. It was a failed.
And needless to say, they were very bitter over this, right?
Oh yeah, yes.
People they've trained with have been captured, killed.
Oh yeah, many killed,
etc.
Yeah. So that's what soured the relationship. That's one of the things that soured the relationship between the Cubans and the U.S. government of John F. Kennedy at the time, was because not only so they don't give us help, they didn't give help to them at the Bay of Pigs. So then after that, the Cuban Missile Crisis hits, and they make an agreement, the Kennedy administration, to remove the missiles in Turkey and never invade Cuba. That's always a little minor detail that's forgotten in the trade to get the missiles out. That's why they never went back in. It's 60 plus years and America's never invaded Cuba. 90 miles off our shore. We'll go all around the world and kick somebody's ass, but we won't go 90 miles because we had an agreement. So that's what happened in JFK. That's what the Cubans were mad about. When they said that we will not invade Cuba, that was a straw, I believe, that broke the camel's back on the Cubans, because they were still trying to get a plan together to go back into Cuba. And JFK saying we won't invade Cuba is the end of Cuba for the people in Miami and the Cubans in the United States. So they're pissed off. So they're looking to the people that they work for in the CIA, and they're like, if you need us, we're here. And then the possibility of plans developed by somebody else and then bringing the Cubans in to do the work. Yeah, I don't know, but it's a very strong possibility. I know for sure that the Cubans were ready to, that's all they talked about, and they still do talk about, is that, the Cubans were the ones that probably did shoot Kennedy. Just which one it was, nobody knows.
Yeah. And let's slide over to New Orleans a little bit now.
Sure.
Because we're kind of staying in the time frame here after hooking up with the CIA in Miami and Op 40. we slide over to New Orleans, and we know that they're training Cuban exiles around Lake Pontchartrain at this time.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of seedy stuff going on in New Orleans, a whole lot of seedy characters. But tell us a little bit about that and how your dad came to realize that Oswald was one of the persons that he was training there.
Yeah, he would take us shooting when we were young, since like the age of 10, 11, when he started showing us how to find bombs and all that. So he would always take us out to the Everglades and teach us how to shoot, sniper training and all that stuff. In 1982, when I'm 19, it's the last year of his life. He's left the witness protection program. He's been trying to sell a book about his life. He's got a publisher interested, so he's got it sold. He's been going on TV shows talking about everything he did in his life. He does magazine interviews and whatnot. Leaves witness protection, so he's got no protection whatsoever. So one day he shows up and he picks us up, which is his MO was always the same way. He would show up and out of the blue, he would just be there. Like we were shooting hoops or something. Boom, you look over and there he is standing by the car. Let's go. So we'd hop in the car, we'd take us out shooting. So we were out in the Everglades working on sniper skills. And he says, guys, I am out of witness protection. I got about 3 contracts out on me here in Miami. And I don't know if I'm long for the world. And I want you guys to know as much as I can tell you about your father, because I know that growing up, you've heard everything. And so I was shooting, he was talking. I didn't have a good relationship with my dad at the time. So to me, it was like, fuck you, I just want to shoot, So my brother asked him, did you kill Kennedy? Because growing up as kids, we were accused of our father having been one of the ones that killed Kennedy growing up. And he says, I did not shoot John F. Kennedy.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. But I was in Dallas the day of the shooting because I was sent there with my crew, my cleaning crew, and told just to go to Dallas and go to the hotel, check in, and wait for further instructions. So he says that's what he did. And then while they were in Dallas, the assassination happens. They get a phone call that says, go home, because obviously the assassination had gone as planned. The president was dead. He believes that, he said, he hinted at the fact that if they had failed or wounded him, then they would have been called in maybe to finish it off somewhere or kill the snipers, who knows. It's very compartmentalized in that situation. He only gets the instructions for his crew. That's all he had. He didn't have anything else. So that's where the part one of that story. And then the other one is after the assassination happens and he goes home and goes back home, he sees Oswald's picture when they put it out on the paper in the national news and stuff. And he goes, my God, that's the guy that was at the camp. It's one of the guys that we were training to help them improve in their sniper ability. Now, a lot of people say Oswald was a marksman. Yeah, he was a marksman. He had a good grade in the Marine for shooting. That grade is based on static targets. Okay.
Snipers. We have covered this. He barely qualified for the middle category, and then in his last test, qualified for the lowest category. Right,
and that's a static target. They're shooting. They're not. My dad had pulley systems set up so that you'd have to shoot. Like a master sniper has to put a volley on 2 spots to be considered a master sniper within a certain amount of time. That's what he was training us. So we would send 4 downrange with a second in between the 4 downranges. That you had to put all 4 on target. So that's what we were training, and that's what he was doing, training snipers on moving targets. Because if you want to kill somebody that's in a car, that's how you do it. So it's not just learning how to shoot a static target. So he said that based on what he saw, that he couldn't have done it because he didn't have the ability. And 2, he missed the first shot which was the easiest shot in our opinion, to then go with your heart beating, bolt action. He's not a,
Right.
he hasn't slowed his heart rate. He doesn't know how to do any of that stuff. And then you're going to put 2 on target, perfect shots. It's just bewildering to think of somebody with that lack of talent to be able to do that. That's what he said. So, and as a shooter myself, I find it hard to believe that he put 2 on target. I think he took the first shot, missed. He could have been a patsy in the way of let him shoot. We know he's going to try to, maybe they knew he was going to try to kill the president. So they just let him shoot, but they put a backup downrange, and he shot the first shot. Boom. Maybe he hits him with the second shot, gets lucky. But that third shot doesn't come from the back, in my opinion. So
I completely agree with you, and I know Rob does as well. A quote from the book: Rick told his dad what his teacher said regarding Lee Harvey Oswald. Ricardo snorted. He could never have made that shot. I saw him shoot at the camp. And
do we know the time frame that he was at the camp in New Orleans?
He didn't tell us. Yeah, he didn't tell us dates or times, but it seemed to be months before the shooting, because it didn't seem that he connected a plan to kill Kennedy. He didn't mention it like, we were training him to kill somebody, like, so I don't know if it was way early, but it was in that year for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and another thing I have marked here from your JFK chapter in the book, as Rick grew, his questions about the whole JFK thing morphed into questions about the whole JFK situation. Time with his father was less and less frequent, especially when he took some job for the Venezuelan government. But Rick didn't stop talking about JFK, and Ricardo kept moving past the subject. Ancient history, he'd say, like dinosaurs. Later, Ricardo would be more open to the discussion, recounting the story of seeing Oswald, who stood out as one of only a handful of Americans at the CIA camp, as one of the more experienced operatives and better shots in the group of mostly Cubans. Morales assisted with some of the marksmanship training. He recalled Oswald as one of the trainees that needed guidance. Morales later stunned upon the newspaper image of Oswald as the man arrested for the assassination.
Did your father ever mention Lauren Hall at all?
No, the only people that he mentioned to me were Frank Sturgis, that he was one of his handlers, and the other CIA was a gentleman by the name of Sanjanis, who was also a CIA handler for the Cubans. Those are his 2 CIA handlers that he told us that he worked for. Yeah. And I think the Frank Sturgis connection is it's straight down the middle of the barrel on that one. He's got the Hunt connection with the Frank Sturgis connection, Watergate connection, the Cubans that work for him. So it all lines up pretty. Of all the theories that are out there, I think the Hunt, Sturgis, and them hiring the Cubans on behalf of whoever, because like I've said before, when we say did the CIA kill Kennedy, it's a very, very broad question. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be the head of the CIA sending a memo down, kill Kennedy. It could be 2 agents on their own that are sick and tired of the bullshit, have somebody willing to do the job, and then you got a big bankroll guy who wants to, the industrial war machine that wants to get rid of Kennedy so they can go into Vietnam, they can go into fight communism out there and make money off wars. And that's what was going on at the time. The military wanted to go into Vietnam because it's a moneymaker. Kennedy was trying to fight going into Vietnam. So you can get rid of them, and you appease the Cubans, and you get rid of Kennedy, and you can go to Vietnam. And that's what ended up happening after Kennedy gets killed. We go to Vietnam.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like a very nuanced question, and I get it all the time. Did the CIA, from laymen, right?
Yeah.
That don't study this, they go, did the CIA kill JFK? I'm like, well, are you talking about exiles that were trained
Right,
by the
right.
CIA? Are you talking about a couple
Yeah.
random case officers? Are you talking about, Alan Dulles running the operation from the farm,
Yeah,
which Rob and I are definitely don't just subscribe to? It's very
yeah,
uh,
very
it
possible.
it's an easy question, but not an easy one to answer for
Yeah,
sure.
the
So
problem is that everybody's waiting for this magical piece of paper to show up that says kill Kennedy. It's not going to show up.
yeah,
CIA, greatest burn bag operation you've ever seen in your life. So
mhm,
any CIA agents that were working in this, they burned everything. They didn't leave paperwork behind. Trickle stuff that they didn't know about is coming out slowly here and there that connects. Yeah, there was a CIA monitoring Oswald. Looks like it from the Joanitis file that just came out. Looks like somebody was reading his mail for the CIA. So it was obvious that the CIA knew who he was and was watching him, which is illegal because that they're not supposed to be working on American soil. So what's going on that they're working on American soil on an American project? That's FBI jurisdiction, not CIA jurisdiction. So
mhm,
the only way
yeah,
they're involved is they're involved because they're inside the planning.
yeah.
So
And I'm glad you brought that up because on the show a lot, and Rob will attest to this, we talk about the interagency conflicts, right, and the rivalries. But we've also been talking recently about the uh, uh, group rivalry from the groups and organizations of Cuban exiles, whether it's the
mhm.
DRE, the CRC. What was the one your uncle was involved
Yeah,
in?
Cuban power. There was a
Cuban Pound.
yeah, there was multiple. There was a couple of Cuban power groups, so they were called the same name. There, and then you had Alpha 66, you had Omega 7, and then
Mhm.
you had the Op 40 people. So
For, yeah,
yeah,
Friends
what's
of
going?
Democratic Cuba.
Yeah,
No.
everybody. There was a yeah, tres letras, as we like to say in Spanish, the three-letter agencies and groups. Everybody always gives themselves three letters. So
Yeah.
it's the threat.
Yeah.
So you have all these groups that are trying to foment uh, problems with Cuba and whoever's doing business with Cuba out of Miami. So this is early upon his arrival in the early 60s. My dad
Mhm.
has my dad goes and this is a crazy story. So my dad and my uncle, my mother's brother, is also working as in a Cuban power group. Him and my grandfather on my mother's side, they're also revolutionaries. So on this one night, they go bomb. My dad goes to place a bomb in this I think it was an American establishment, but it was late at night. They wait till it's closed so there's no body count. My dad puts an envelope under the door with an explosive device, and his fuse is long because he wants to wait till later at night. And then my uncle shows up, not aware that my dad's group is bombing and they're going to bomb the same place on the same night. And he sets a short fuse and it blows up and it activates my dad's bomb and it ruins everything. And then they find a trace print, one trace print from my dad. So the feds bring my dad in, and my dad says, "Hi, how you doing?" He goes, "Oh, it's the monkey." So he goes, "I'm here for you guys. I'm the one that's going to help you figure out what's going on in Miami because I have access to all the Cuban groups. They all come to me for the explosives. I have the C4. I have everything I need. I got the weapons. So use me to help you guys keep these Cuban groups from causing because what was going on was they were trying to kill people and some of them were willing to kill innocent people, sink innocent ships and cause damage. And the feds and my dad were on that's going to cause a war. You're going to start a war, and the US wanted to avoid a war. So he went to work for the feds, basically picking and choosing which groups he would give bombs that worked, or he would give duds to other ones and then blame them for screwing up how do you place the bomb and whatnot.
Right.
So
If he didn't support the mission personally, he
exactly
would give he
right,
would give them a dud bomb, so it
which is
wouldn't
what
be
happened to
effective.
Dr. That's what happened to Dr. Bosch. My dad didn't believe that Dr. Bosch was a good man at heart, that he wanted to become president of Cuba, and that was his motive for being in these Cuban power groups. And my dad knew him from Cuba, and the reputation was that he wasn't going to be a good man to be a president of Cuba. So he just he made him feel like he was working for him, and then thwarted him almost at every opportunity that he could. And Bosch ends up going to jail because of my dad turning him in, because they were able, all the information that he gets. So that's the first time Bosch gets in trouble because of my dad in Miami, which he gets in trouble again in Venezuela later on. So that's what my dad's doing. He's running the city as to who gets a good bomb, who gets a bad bomb, who's fighting the right way, who's not fighting the right way. And in the meanwhile, my uncle's still bombing for one of the Cuban power groups. And he goes out to California and he blows up an Air Canada office that's closed. Like I said, there were never any body count. There was never any collateral damage. But they catch him. Yeah, but they catch him, and they caught my uncle. And then my uncle goes, and my uncle refuses help. He refuses help. My uncle's motto is a revolutionary's ribbons are jail or death. I'm not, I don't want a special treatment because my fellows aren't getting special treatment. So he did like close to 20 years in jail for the bombing. So, but he refused help. And he's still the same way. He's still a revolutionary, still speaking.
Didn't he escape?
Yeah, he escapes. At one point, he escapes from jail. They got him on a work camp by then. He's been in jail for like 18 years. And I show up at my aunt's house, and he's sitting on her couch. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, oh, I got out early release. They let me go. So we went out, started playing tennis and all that good stuff. And then all of a sudden, 4 days go by, and I go, where's Hector at? And they say, oh, he went back to jail. He escaped. I didn't know it. I was like 13, so I was clueless.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he got arrested for the bombing and escape. But then he gave him an extra year. That's all they gave him.
Yeah, man, these Cubans in Miami in the 1960s and after, they were cowboys, soldiers of fortune, intelligence assets and agents, and they lived like Scarface type of lives. And we're going to get into some of this. Paula Jane, one of our biggest channel supporters, said he was in witness protection trying to sell his memoirs. And I think she means at the time he died in 1982. We will get there, Paula. We will get there.
Yeah.
And James Smith, who at CIA was in direct command of Operation 40? Well,
depends where and when they were. When they were in the Congo, it was Rip Robertson was the CIA in control of the Op 40 team because they were in Africa. Right. When they were in Miami, my understanding is that it's
JM Wave.
And then St. Janice and Frank Sturgis are running the people in and out 40.
How did all these Cubans find their way into the deepest heart of Africa in the Congo?
Yeah, because what was going on was there was a civil war going on in the Congo. And I don't know if you remember the movie. There's a old movie called The Wild Geese, where they show all these militaries coming in. The Belgians, the British, they all go in there to save their people in the Congo.
It was the Belgian Congo.
The Belgian Congo. That's right. And they were fighting. The Congolese were fighting. But what happened was Castro had been sending soldiers to the Congo to help them fight. So Op 40 sent Cubans to the Congo to help fight the Cubans that were fighting in the Congo so they could kill each other. So the Op 40 team goes to the Congo, and there's fighting going on, but they haven't seen any fighting. And then there is an urgent call for a mission to go to a village where some missionaries, locals, and from all countries, some from the U.S., were being held by the rebels.
As hostages. Yep, I have it up here now.
Yeah, and they were being held, and they were looking for somebody to go in, and the Belgians said, nope, not our people, we're not going in. The British didn't want to go in, and then they went to Rip, and they asked him, Rip, do the Cubans want to go in? And Rip said, the Cubans are dying to kill people out here. So they're ready to go. So they asked them, go, and they sent them in. So they went into this village, they shot their way in. My dad was riding on the back of the machine, on the Jeep with the M50 machine gun. He was running that. And he took a 50 cal, and he took a shot to the back. He took a slug to the back, but he kept shooting. They made it into the village. Some of the people had been killed already, but they were able to rescue quite a few people and take them back, and they fought their way back out, and they made it back to the camp. So they ended up rescuing some missionaries and locals and
Yeah,
others from other
yeah,
countries.
and this is the picture. I guess it was published on November 24th, 1964, but it might have been taken on November 22nd, 64. That is speculation.
Yeah.
Your dad is number 8
Eight. Yeah, number
in the
8.
middle here,
Yeah.
Ricardo Morales, and you have number 5 here as William Rip Robertson, and number 2, Mr. Jefe Rene Garcia, who was one of the pilots at the Bay of Pigs, who was promised umbrella air cover,
Yep.
right? Once the brigade landed.
Makes total sense now.
Yeah, one name I saw associated with a lot of this stuff going on in the Congo that jumped out to me is, of course, Frank Barthez, Francis Barthez.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know much about his story. I know about a couple of more on there. I know Orlando Garcia ended up in Venezuela, part of the CIA team. A lot of these people, like some of these people, end up going to Venezuela eventually, and all over South America.
Right.
Barthez was in New Orleans.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Now I know. Yep. I don't know anything else on him. I've heard the name, but I don't know any personal stories about him. I know the guy to the right, number 9, is was a CIA agent after the Congo, yes, and he was also a pilot. There's another photo. I don't know if I sent it to you. It's just them two together hanging out.
Yes, I have a couple, but
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting to point out that they are kind of mocking JFK
Yeah.
being the umbrella man, of course, on the side
Yeah.
of Dealey Plaza. I think that was symbolic, and I think, have you seen the picture of Rip Robertson allegedly in Dealey Plaza? I'm sure you have.
Looking at the picture, it's not raining, so.
It's not, no. So it seems to me to be mocking.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have these two.
That's the
Actually,
cleaning.
this.
Yeah, that's the two. That's my dad and the number 9 one. Pepito. Pepito was his name.
Your dad on the left here.
Yeah, he's on the left, and then the guy with the blowing the smoke, that was number 9 right next to him in the group figure. Then that's my dad in Cuba when he was getting married to my mom at the courthouse when he was like 20 years old. Yeah,
he's a good looking
he's
guy.
already a G2 agent at that point. So
wow, at 20, that's crazy.
At 20, yeah, insane.
And
that's the truck with the machine gun on the back with that they drove into Stanleyville. That's in the Congo.
And this is in the Congo. And which one is your father?
The one with the machine gun mounting it.
Oh,
he's the one. Yeah,
okay,
anytime.
okay,
yeah, he's the one with the gun always.
Got it. And on the left, I don't know if this is Harper's Magazine or.
No, that's a personal family picture.
Okay.
It's
and
a
your dad
I've shared it. I've shared it a lot, but it's my my dad's friend took the picture, and so we know where it came from.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you the names. I'll give you those 2 names because they're kind of important names. They're all 3 of them are op 40. So on the left, far left, I can't tell you because they're twins. So the bookends are twins. Those are the Villaverde brothers, Rafael and George Villaverde. Op 40, very, very implicated in. Rafael is very implicated in the JFK assassination probabilities, and he might have been one of the snipers. If you pull him up and you look at his profile, you'll see he ends up dying in a mysterious boat explosion in '82, the same year my dad died, but before my dad. But that's and the one that's in the second from the right is Carlos Quesada. He was the biggest drug dealer in Miami before the Colombians came in. He was the biggest.
Right.
He's one of the guys that Scarface is basically based on.
Right. So before the Colombians came in and Escobar and the Medellin cartel, it was really the Cubans that were running the drugs.
Yeah.
First marijuana, which your dad was arrested for, and then later cocaine. But
Yeah, they were getting their cocaine from Bolivia. It wasn't coming from Colombia at the time. Colombia doesn't start to get big into it until closer to the late 70s.
okay,
So he they were getting, but he has that connection to Bolivia, and they have that because of his time in Venezuela before that.
right. Yeah, yeah, and I want to talk about his time in Venezuela. But
Yeah,
after this picture, Komorowski, this was his lawyer. Am I wrong?
yeah, yeah. That's correct. That's one of his lawyers.
Called Morales a real life James Bond. He's been on every side there's been. Everything he does is for a reason. He's got a master plan. He's the consummate professional. You think that a guy as professional as he is, how is he going to get into a bar fight? He was never unprotected. He was never without the gun. And we'll get to that. But
Yeah,
I think your dad had a comment, like a famous quote that says, uh,
yeah.
I'm,
I don't play to win the.
yes,
You want me to
go.
say it? Is it? I don't
Yeah,
play to.
exactly. That's
I don't. Yeah, I don't play to win the game. I play to stay in the game. Because
right.
you're not going to win that game. You're going to win. It's eventually you'll die and you'll move on. They'll keep going. So you're not. So I don't play to win. I play to stay in the game. Was his motto.
Yeah. But as we will get into, he did die pretty young.
Yeah, 43.
Yeah.
All this happens in 20 years. So 21 gets married. G2. 43 dies. So you're compressing all the Cuba, Miami, all the Congo, all Venezuela, and then back to Miami and Europe in
Hmm.
a short life.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. This is a photograph that was taken allegedly in a nightclub in Mexico City on January 22nd, 63. It is believed that the men in the photographs are all members of Operation 40.
Yep.
Closest to the camera on the left is Felix Rodriguez, who I believe is still alive. Next to him, Porter Goss and Barry Seal, being the Escobar pilot.
Yep.
Tosh Plumley is attempting to hide his face on the right
I,
side.
I'm in contact with Plumley. I've had a few conversations lately with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's still around. You might want to get him on your show. I can hook.
Uh,
He's still around and he's got a book coming out. So put down. He's got a book coming out. So that's going to be very intriguing.
oh,
I spoke
what
to
do you
him
think about
recently
that,
about
Rob?
it. So
Hard pass.
the man's got a picture of him on a
Uh,
tank in Cuba, in Santa Ana, Cuba, fighting with Castro. Man, it's just he's got the story from fighting with Castro to working with the CIA, all of that Cuba stuff. He knows it all. He has all the information.
wow,
Yeah,
wow, that's interesting.
I forgot the name of the
The,
book, but you'll find it.
yeah, we definitely will.
Yeah,
This is the name of all the Cubanos in El Congo,
Yeah, this
and
is where I saw Francisco Barthez. That jumps out to me.
right.
Jorge Bernier jumps out to me.
as possibly related to Carlos.
Yeah, that might be Carlos' brother or uncle.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And there's an I can't even say it. Escudero. Not
Yeah,
Tony
so
Nestor Escudero, but Orlando Ramirez Escudero,
yeah.
possibly related.
Yeah, that's basically the whole team. I don't think they were all there at the same time. I think they were they went in waves of,
Like a rotation, right? Right.
yeah, like a rotation. Correct.
Yeah. And your dad, the Congo at that time, like you mentioned, the exiles went on missions that no one else wanted to go on. He had some serious PSD up until his death about his time in the Congo, correct?
Correct. Because there was a lot of the death that he saw when they were trying to save there were bodies all over the streets. There were also problems with the Congolese had a like type of voodoo medicine stuff like that. So there was cannibalism that was going on at the time. There was sacrifices that they were doing because they would do voodoo. They went through one town and the people were hiding and there's one of those like a chief war priest dude walking through the streets trying to do a one of those sacrificial dances or whatever. So they were dealing with that kind of death. It wasn't just shooting people and killing people. They saw a lot of. He came back a changed man. That's what everybody in the family that I talked to for the book said, that when he came back from the Congo, he was not the same guy that went to the Congo. He came back a changed man.
Right.
I think it made him like numb to feelings.
Yeah, I mean PTSD is no, not serious thing, and it's funny because I'm going to bring up how Monkey Morales got his nickname. It's
Sure.
because he went into a village after it was pretty much slaughtered, and there was one girl that survived, and he put her on his shoulders,
Yep.
right, kind of like
Right.
a
Yeah.
monkey does, and
He was carrying her on
transport.
his back, and for like 4 or 5 days, she was attached to him. So he was always carrying her around the camp on his back. And one of the Cubans, in a joking manner, says, "Oh, there comes Monkey," because it looked like he had It's racist. I'm just telling the story. I'm not gonna change it. But
It's
that's
not
basically
because he was always climbing on shit, right?
right.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't
I
because he
don't
was
even think
being
it's
a
racist.
monkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some people do. You know how it is nowadays. So I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
because somebody says, hey, look, you look like you're carrying. Here comes the monkey. It's kind of an insult to somebody. So, but that's the truth. I'm not gonna change it to make them look better or worse or anything. It's what it is. But he did it for. It
Yeah.
was a good thing that he was doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's go now to the 1960s in the Congo, right? I think he's there 64 or 65-ish.
sure,
And then at some point closer to 1970 maybe, he goes to
sure.
Venezuela. Correct me if I'm
He
wrong.
goes. He goes. Yeah, he goes back to Miami first. So he goes back to Miami first, and he meets up with Louis Posada. Louis Posada is a CIA operative, very famous. Everybody knows, and we'll get further into Posada, into the Venezuela story. So Posada had been working for Lefty Rosenthal, uh, helping him bomb places. So Posada had been assigned to go to Venezuela and take over the DCEP, the spy agency in Venezuela. So he took off to Venezuela, but before he took off, he gave Lefty my dad's number to so that he could have a bomber that he would use. So Lefty hires my dad. They meet and they have a good conversation, and he says, "All right." And Lefty starts hiring my dad to place bombs in different places in Miami. Now you got to realize at this time in Miami, there's so many bombs going off that the newspaper has created like a baseball box score sheet of how many this day, this many bombings at these places, 3 bombs on Thursday, 4, and they're tracking it like so many, and you can still look those up. So, but Lefty Rosenthal wants a bookie operation shut down because somebody's running it without permission. So he tells him, I just want you to knock down the wall. I don't want it to kill anybody. I don't want anybody hurt. We just are sending messages. So that's what my dad does. He goes, he scopes out the store clowns, I believe it was, and he finds a way. He goes inside and he reconnoiters the place and he figures out. He puts a bomb and it blows up and it knocks down the wall and it doesn't hurt anybody. So that's the first message that he sends with Lefty. And then Lefty hires him for like 2 or 3 more bombings. But one of them turns out to be a cop who wants to bomb another cop's house to send a message. And when they find out that's what they did, my dad says, enough of this, because you guys are now, we have an agreement with the cops that they're not going to do anything to us. But if you kill a cop, and he didn't know that he was working for another cop. So at that point, when he found out it was cop against cop, he told Lefty, no more of this unless it's for you and the business, the mafia. I'm not getting involved in local city of Miami politics and stuff like that. So then he does a bombing of a boat and a car outside of a rival's house. I think the guy had stolen his girlfriend. It's basically like the movie Casino, where
Yeah.
his girlfriend is cheating on him and whatnot. And the guy who
Yeah.
stole his wife.
Yeah.
Name,
And by the
name,
way, Lefty Rosenthal is based on the Robert De Niro character in Casino.
yeah, correct.
Just for people that aren't aware.
Yeah, and he had lost his girlfriend, and the guy who stole his girlfriend had a place in Miami, and the boat was named after his girlfriend, so he wanted the boat blown up. So my dad jumped in the river with a rebreather, went under the water, and put the bomb under the boat, and then he went in and put a bomb under the car and blew the boat up and blew the car up. So the guy got the message and let the girl go. He didn't stay with the girl any longer. So those are the kind of things. And then there's one more I can give you. It's the famous Murph the Surf story, where Murph the Surf steals the Star of India and a bunch of diamonds and emeralds from the, I think it's in New York, the Museum of Natural History at the time. And so there's a guy who's fencing me, and Lefty brings my dad with him to go meet the fence. And the fence, something happens between Lefty and the fence, and Dad doesn't like what's going on. So my dad pulls out the gun and shoots the guy in the eye. And the guy doesn't die, but he doesn't press charges. When they ask him who shot you, he doesn't say we shot him. My dad is the one later on admits to the shooting in an interview that he gives later on before he dies. So that's what he was doing for Lefty. He was Lefty's hitman or Lefty's bomber. That's happening for a couple of years. And then Lefty leaves for Vegas. And when he leaves for Vegas, my dad gets a job offer from Posada in Venezuela to become the second in command of the Venezuelan secret police, which is a DISIP, D-I-S-I-P. They're basically like our CIA, but for them locally, they're an FBI, CIA type of agency. And my dad is in control of all the airports. That's one of his major responsibilities. So he's in control of the airports of Venezuela. Anybody coming in and coming out, he deals with all that stuff. So in the beginning in Venezuela, what they're doing is the CIA has planted all these people in powerful positions. Even the vice president, which my dad says in the interview, he goes, I recruited the vice president of Venezuela, who became a CIA operative also, because Venezuela at the time wanted to be able to control that region of the world where they were at. They still have problems with their neighbors in Guyana and stuff like that they're trying to take land, and because it's rich with oil. So they made an agreement with the CIA to allow the CIA to come into Venezuela, because they were running it anyway. It's my dad, Posada, all those people were all Venezuelan agents. The Americans were coming in, and at the same time, Israel sent the Mossad, because what was happening is they were trying to find Nazis in Venezuela. So Mossad comes in and trains my dad and a couple of other agents, because they want to send them out into the field to try to find Dr. Mengele and other Nazis. And you can't really send in Mossad agents you can send some, but they don't speak Spanish. They stand out. So they wanted to train these Cubans that were working for the CIA. So he received all this Mossad training at that time. And they were looking for Mengele, but they never found Mengele. Mengele ends up dying while swimming of a heart attack or something in South America.
Yeah.
But he was close. Mm-hmm. He was close. They were close to finding him, but he receives a medal from Golda Meir, just a thank you medal for participating with the Mossad and helping the Mossad hunt Nazis. So it was like a medal of appreciation, a medal of thank you.
Right, from Mossad. Right. What
from Mossad, from Golda Meir through Mossad.
Right, which is crazy to think, like, as we've gone through your dad's career here he is in the 70s in Venezuela hunting Nazis that have fled to South America.
Yeah, and they're in charge of the drug trade, because what's going on in Bolivia, the people that are selling the cocaine are the descendants of those Nazis that came over. They have all the money and the power. So that's one of the reasons they're hunting the Nazis, because the cocaine is coming from Bolivia through Venezuela to the United States. And then weapons are going back through Venezuela, because my dad controls the airport. So he allows the passage. And the U.S. is sending guns to Chile and all those countries to stir up problems and try to overthrow those governments.
Like that.
That's where all the weapons smuggling begins, that later on turns into Iran-Contra and a couple of years after my dad dies. But the beginning of it all starts through Venezuela, because they have all these agents that are working for them in Venezuela.
That is a crazy story. So let me.
Well, we haven't even got to the plane in Venezuela. You want
Yes,
to talk?
yes, I do.
Let's knock off Venezuela
Yes,
altogether.
we may as well. Please explain the situation.
All right. So while he's in Venezuela working and they're doing all that, there has been a plan in place by Cuban power and different Cuban organizations. Cordu is one of them. Bosch is involved in the original planning and conversation about attacking Cuban targets and maybe attacking their airplane, because Cuba was using 3 airliners they had leased from the British that were Air Canada planes that were DC-10s, I believe, at the time. And they had 3 of them, and they were using those to ferry troops to the Congo. Those were the planes that they used to, and they also used them for their bureaucrats and their leaders and whatnot to travel from place to
Right.
place.
So pro Castro Cubans were fighting anti-Castro Cubans in Africa.
Right, and that's how they were using those planes. So there was only one plane left that they were using that was in service, and the Cubans that were in Venezuela, the anti-Castros, wanted to blow that plane up, but they wanted to blow it up on the ground. Was the original plan. So at a certain point, the plan goes into operation somehow. Orlando Bosch is trying to get to Chile because his new wife is from Chile, and he wants to retire. He's an old man, and he looks for help to get to Chile, and he comes to a guy that is connected with my dad. And my dad offers him, sure, come to Venezuela and I'll take care of you. And he already put him away once, but he goes ahead and trusts him again. And my dad puts him up in his apartment. He's staying at in Caracas at the Hilton. And Bosch is living with my father in the same place, which makes no sense whatsoever because I don't know how he trusted him. But at that point, the bombers come to my dad. My dad says, go to the explosives rooms and just take whatever you want. So they take the C4 explosive with them, and they build the bomb. And while the plane lands in Barbados and is leaving Barbados, they plant the bomb. Now, the plane was late. There's a timing issue with the plane's arrival and departure time is one of the problems that could have caused the bomb to go off in the air as opposed to on the ground, because the guy cleaning the plane pretended to be ground crew planted the bomb. And it was supposed to go off like no time later, so there'd be no people on the plane, just blow it up on the ground. We don't care about the people. But then something turns up later, which is that 5 North Koreans boarded that plane in Barbados.
Delegates, right?
Yeah, from the government coming to meet with the Cuban government. And this is the exact time that they become nuclear in North Korea. So did somebody give an order to change the timer so that it would blow up in the air and kill all the communists and those 5 North Koreans? Or did the guy who set the timer fuck up and it went too late? He put the timer on too long and the plane took off before it blew up. Nobody knows. But the result of it is that my dad arrests Orlando Bosch, and they arrest Posada. They arrest the 2 guys that planted the bomb. They all get arrested. Now, my dad doesn't get arrested. Then Venezuela starts denying that these people even work for the government, even though they've been working for the government there for like 4 years already. And so you've got this plane that's been killed. 73 people die, and they arrest all these 3 people. Then my dad finds his way back to the U.S. They take him in, they give him a deposition, ask him questions, and after the deposition's over, they just let him go. They don't even arrest him they don't care. You know, it's like he's got the CIA connection.
Right.
They know what happened. Let him go.
Yeah.
And he walks out.
Wink, wink.
But he's blown. Yeah, but he's blown. From that moment on, he had to figure out a way to get back to the U.S. He was blown. They're not acknowledging that he works for the CIA. Venezuela's not acknowledging that he worked for them. So he's out of it. He's burned. He has no work for the government. So that's when he goes back to his Cuban friends that are now the biggest drug dealers in Miami and says, I have a lot to offer you. And they say, yeah, we would like you to join our team. And he joins the cocaine trade and pot trade first, and then the cocaine trade.
Wow. And could you tell us the story of when the prosecution called him as a witness for
Yeah, sure,
a
sure.
third.
That's the
Yeah,
TikToks.
yeah,
Yeah, there's this the largest case, the largest cocaine case ever. What happens is somebody snitches on my dad that he's hauling that marijuana shipment, and the cops arrest him, and he gets pissed off at them because it was the crew that he was working for. Somebody had snitched on him. He beats the marijuana case, gets out, and says, "Fuck you! I'm gonna snitch on you guys now." So he went to the cops, to the feds that he knew, and he said, "I can get you the biggest cocaine ring in Miami." Sure. So they go and they hide a listening device in a wall clock, and it's called the tick-tocks case because you can hear the clock going tick tock the whole time in the recordings. So they arrest, I think it's like 30 people in this ring, and a lot of them are his friends
right.
and
Former
whatnot. So
Bay of Pigs veterans.
former Bay of Pigs,
Yeah, a lot.
friends from Cuba, Op 40 team members, a lot of people that he
Right.
knew. So he he goes and he gives the DA what he's going to tell them, and he gives them all that stuff. And then when they go to court, on the first day of court, he walks into court, walks over to the prosecution table, the defense table where the defendants are at, and he salutes them. A few of them salute back. A few of them stand up. They start hugging. They start saying hi to each other. They're giving each other love. And the district attorney freaks out because she thinks, wow, he's flipped. He's not going to talk about it. And she doesn't ask him any questions when he's on the stand. She's like afraid to say anything. So she says, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness. And then the other ones, the prosecutor goes, well, we don't have any, the defense prosecutor, we don't have any questions either. And they throw the case out. The case gets dismissed, and nobody goes to jail.
You can't have cross if you don't have direct.
Yeah. So he got the whole case flushed. Got everybody got off.
All his friends off.
Some of the people, Carlos Quesada, ended up losing some money, but the government had to return $400,000 to him because at the time there were no forfeiture laws. So it's not like now where they catch you as a drug dealer, they take your house or cars and everything. Back then, the only thing they got him for was income tax evasion. So he had to pay what he owed in taxes for the amount of money that they found that he had, but couldn't prove how he had gotten the money, so they couldn't take it away. So he ends up getting $400,000 paid back to him. So they came out okay from the situation. And my dad was put into witness protection because of that case, because they wanted him dead at the time.
Right.
So that's what happens with that case. Yeah, that's how he gets it thrown out.
So he went into witness protection, late 70s ish.
Yeah, no, 80. Yeah, late 70. I would say closer to 80, 81.
And then he leaves witness protection.
Yeah, he's frustrated. He can't live that life. Right. I mean, he's never been a guy who's had a job and no juice, no excitement. You got to have excitement. And he leaves, and that's when he comes back to Miami without witness protection, as I said earlier, and he picks us up one day and takes a shooting.
Right.
So that's how he gets back to Miami. Yeah. But when he gets back to Miami, there's people looking for him to kill him.
Contracts out at him, yeah. And one thing I noticed about your dad, and one thing I noticed in listening to all these former special forces guys on YouTube, they're adrenaline junkies.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's exactly
and I think that's exactly what your father was. And I believe he hit the bottle hard and other things.
Yeah, at the end he was doing drugs. Yeah, he was out. He had nothing to drain all that he had inside him that he wanted to do. He had no outlet for it. So then the booze and the drugs that he's selling takes over, and then you lose a step. You lose a step. You're not as sharp as you were before, and things start to happen, and that's what it catches up to him eventually.
Right. So your dad is killed in 1982 in a bar fight, a gunfight, allegedly. At this time, he was kind of doing his mini book tour. He was trying to sell his life story. And I just want to get your thoughts on, was this bar fight, I guess the guy who shot him was an off-duty cop or something, right? Eh,
an off-duty Cuban cop from Cuba. He wasn't a Miami cop. He had been a cop in Cuba.
Ooh.
If there's I can tell you the story, and it's a little convoluted because there's a lot of players involved, but I'll give you the
Yeah,
rundown.
please do.
So my dad that day went started drinking early, and him and a friend, a guy friend, and a girl that he knew, and that a lot of people knew,
Right.
went bar
Right.
hopping.
Didn't he kill
So
her ex-husband?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He
There's a
knew
lot.
her well.
So her first husband killed somebody, and then he killed him and her husband. So yes, he had killed one of her husbands because the other ex-husband, is part owner of the club where he ends up getting killed at. So that gives you a connection with her and the bar that he ends up going to. So at some point in the evening, she starts asking, let's go to Cherry's in Key Biscayne, which is the name of the bar. And it's called Rogers on the Green. And then the bar is called Cherry's. So it has a restaurant and a bar. And she's bugging my dad, and my dad's saying, no, comes from the third person that was in the group that night until the shooting. And then eventually he gets tired of her asking, let's go, and says, all right, fuck it, let's go. So they go to Cherry's. They go to Cherry's, they walk in. The owner of Cherry's is Roger Novo and Juan Sid, who's not there that night. But Juan Sid is Nancy Sid, the woman that my dad's with, ex-husband. So you got that ex-husband also. My dad is also a witness in a case against him for tax evasion. So there's another reason for that guy to want him dead. Orlando Torres, who is the shooter that kills my dad, works for Juan Sid as a bodyguard and works for Roger as a bouncer at the club.
Oof.
So you're walking into a situation that my dad doesn't know Orlando Torres. He knows Roger. So Roger and my dad begin to talk and argue about something, whatever. And my dad goes to leave. And it's because Nancy doesn't want to pay for the drinks because her ex-husband owns half the bar. So somebody says that somebody called my dad a faggot also on the way out. So my dad goes back in by himself. Nancy stays outside and the other guy stays outside. They don't go back in. And while he's in there, he's arguing with Roger. So it appears that he's face to face with Roger. And at some point, somebody pulls out a gun. My dad's got a gun in his ankle holster, but he never makes it to the ankle holster. He bends down, and Orlando Torres had come up behind him and put a bullet in the back of his head. He never saw it coming. So Roger had a gun on him also that night. So my dad was probably worried about Roger pulling out a gun and might have gone for his gun. Because if my dad had gone there to kill Roger, that makes no sense. If my dad wants to kill Roger Novo, he just disappears.
Right.
Roger Novo just disappears. So the guy shoots my dad. The case is a clusterfuck from the beginning with the cops. The cops show up. The people tell them it was a bar fight. The cop says, and it's in the paper, with the life that Morales has left, if they're telling me it's a bar fight, I'm happy with that. I can live with that because how many people wanted him dead, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Also, so he's killed, and we find out. We go to the hospital the next day, and we say our goodbyes and whatnot. Our uncle tells us, my dad's brother, Rolando Pucho Morales, tells us to not do it.
Also a revolutionary, correct?
Yeah, also a revolutionary back in Cuba. Yes, he was supposed to be in the Bay of Pigs, and he had an appendicitis attack, and they had to ship him out off the boat and take him to a hospital on the mainland. So he didn't get to land. So he tells us to go about our lives. He doesn't want us, because my brother was a Marine, so he's a little headstrong, and I'm out on the streets already being a bad guy, trying to follow in my father's footsteps at the time. And he tells us to just go about our lives. And so we do. And 2 years pass by, and I get a call. I'm living in Palm Beach County at the time, and I get a call, and all the call says is, go by the local news from Miami, and hangs up on me. And I'm like, okay. So I go down. I'm in Palm Beach, so I have to get the Herald. And in the local news, Roger Novo found dead out in West Day, dumped in the swamp out there. And nobody knew who had killed Roger. And it turns out later on, when my uncle is dying, he confesses at his bedside to his family, to the family, and to a priest, because they called the priest because he was in his last rites. And he confessed that he was the one that killed Roger in retaliation for.
Right.
And people have asked, why Roger? Roger didn't shoot your dad. Orlando Torres did. My uncle made a decision which person involved in that, what we figure was a coordinated plan to get him there and have a fight with him so we could shoot him, so they could shoot him. Which one would hurt the most? Orlando Torres was an outsider. He wasn't loved. He was a hired one guy, one off. Roger Novo meant more in that situation because that was the main protagonist. So that's why he killed Roger instead of killing Torres.
Was Roger related to the other Novo brothers at all?
No. No.
I know your dad was kind of snitched to the FBI when you're talking about the Letelier bombing.
Yeah, that's one of the bombings that my dad knows about because it was dealing with the Chileans that were trying to overthrow the government and get Pinochet involved, and the CIA was down there messing Chile up, and they killed the ambassador. I think it was the ambassador, Orlando Letelier. They killed him with a bomb. That's where I believe the other guys from the Op 40 team might come into play, the Villaverdes, and then they might be involved in that one. I'm not 100% sure, but they're involved in the Letelier bombing.
Yeah, I didn't know if those guys, the Novos, were related in
those. Yeah, but it's a different family.
Retaliation for that, maybe for him.
Yeah, no, that was a different one.
Yeah. So I asked a couple people if they had any questions for you, and one of the question is, do you love the Lone Gunman podcast? Of course, that would be yes. So I'm not even going to make you answer that. Who did your father think was behind the plan? So I just want to give this background, and I don't say this very often. I'm almost certain the shooters, not Oswald, of JFK, were Cuban exiles that were living that cowboy life, going on raids, risking their lives. I don't know who it is, obviously. If I could solve the case, I'd be happy to. Do you share that belief? And what did your father think, and what do you think? And we got a little to what your father thought earlier. But.
Yeah, like I said, I believe that the Cubans had it with Kennedy and were itching to get rid of him because he had given up Cuba. So I feel that somebody that was handling the Cubans at the time knew that they were willing to do it, and then somebody hatched the plan. I don't know if it was how far up it goes. I don't know. I tend to lean towards the Hunt and Sturgis gang because they had more dealings with Cubans than most of the other ones. And there's that Hunt stuff that's, it's pretty mysterious with his wife dying and the money and all that stuff that came out in Watergate. And that, that plane that crashes when she leaves her husband mysteriously, and she has like a couple $100,000 on her. If you watch the show, the Watergate show, The Plumbers, I think it was called, or what, out on HBO. It has that story in it. So based on those, that from what I've heard and all the stories, I would say rogue CIA with rogue Cubans, and then powerful people with money. Easy to do.
Right. And of course, Rip Robertson comes to mind, right? Whether
he was in the Congo.
Right. Whether he was in Dealey or not, he was one of the only two Americans to land during the Bay of Pigs with Grayston Lynch, I believe the other one was. And
there were a lot of Cubans in Dallas that day. It was almost the second biggest Cuban city in the world that day.
I don't want to speak for Rob, but we believe Vidal Santiago was the dark complected man next to the Umbrella Man.
Could be.
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but
you get his name wrong. So
Yeah,
Who's that?
well, of course. Felipe Vidal Santiago. Yes.
Who is Vidal Santiago? I don't know.
Yes. So I want to get your thoughts. I'm going to throw a couple Cuban organizations out there and just give me your thoughts and kind of what your dad might have thought about them. The DRE, big in the news these days.
Right. Nothing. I got nothing on DRE for you, man, because he didn't talk about it. So,
CRC,
what does that stand
Cuban
for? What's
Revolutionary
do you know?
Council.
Revolutionary Congress?
Yeah.
Council?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Bunch of those people were just like propagandists, is what he said of those organizations. They weren't. They were propaganda.
They weren't doers.
They weren't doers. They were. Yeah. The doers don't show up on street corners.
Right.
To be seen. You know what I mean? Nobody that's would walk in and out of those buildings to be photographed and seen like that. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've been kind of talking about the different grifts these certain Cubans had in their different organizations, how they were, how they had differentiating levels of commitment towards military action, towards marching in the street, taking money, or propaganda, this or that. Was there one your dad favored any more than the other, or?
like I don't think my dad had a preference. He just didn't want the Cubans that were in Miami, that he didn't want them to do something stupid that would end up blowing the thing out of proportion. That was his whole MO for dealing with the Cubans in Miami, was just keep them like there's a time where Bosch's organization, the Cuban Power Group, wants to sink a Polish freighter with a bazooka. So my dad gets a practice round for the bazooka, which is blue, and he paints it green, so it looks like a genuine round, and gives them that round. They shoot the bazooka, and the round hits the side of the boat, but it doesn't explode. And they're like, "What's going on?" And it's like, "It must have been a dud. I don't know. I'm getting it from this group, so maybe this group is bad, and they're feeding us bad stuff." And that's how he kept it rolling along. So he said, in his mind, he's like, "I'm not going to let you sink that Polish freighter with innocent people on board just to start a war, just to start problems." That's not how he figured it should be done. He wanted it done a big American-led, or Cubans going back, and a big invasion. That's what everybody thought eventually was going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, that's when they all get mad.
Right.
You don't want a bunch of crazy mad Cubans coming after you, man.
You do not.
You got that right.
I would not. I don't know, Rob. Do you have anything else, sir?
I think we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about, Rick, that we didn't get into? That we missed?
I think we got into. I don't know if we missed anything. I'm trying to think. No.
I mean, it's a fascinating life to be
questions?
crammed into, such a short.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I mean, not only is it book worthy, it's movie worthy.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I went on that on Rob Reiner's podcast, the JFK one that he did, and I'm on episode like 8 or something of it. And I was talking with Reiner on like we are now. We were doing the interview, and halfway through the conversation, he's like, "Man, this is a movie." And I'm like, "Don't you make movies, Rob? I mean, what are you telling me that it's a movie for? So I'm hoping he reads it and I get a call back from him. But
there's your in.
Listen, there's one more thing I want to add, because a lot of people, this subject is very controversial to people. So this story, I did not want to tell this story. Okay? This story I held back from my own family. So when I leave Miami and leave the drug trade, and I got married, I met a woman, and I had 2 kids, and I leave Miami because I don't want to raise my children in Miami, and I want to leave the drug trade, and I did. I left it all. I got a job, and I've lived a good life ever since. And I've raised 2 beautiful children. I'm still married 34 years now. So I got out of it, but I didn't tell them. They never knew anything about their grandfather's life story.
Wow.
I did not want to talk about this. Then one day on Twitter, Rob and Farzad writes a book called Hotel Scarface, which a lot of my dad's life is in that book. And my kid sees it on Twitter. He goes, Grandpa's on Twitter and they're going to write a book, and he's in a book and you haven't told us anything. And I'm like, man, oh, killed me,
You're
dude.
caught.
And at that point, I had to tell them everything. And then they're like, oh my God, freaking out, you know? And I'm like, and then people start calling for interviews and podcasts because Robin did a podcast and I went on his. He asked me to go on. I went on and told the story. And then I even withheld the JFK stuff because I didn't want to talk about it because it only brings out hate. You know, it seems to only bring out hate from other people. And I'll give you the perfect example is dumbass closed case. Posner, who thinks he knows freaking everything, right? So the other day, the Daily Mail put out a story, my story about the book, and he comes out on Twitter, this has been debunked, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, who debunked it? You did? I mean, how do you know? Do you know where Oswald was every day of his life? No, you weren't even there. You don't have a paper trail. Just because you don't think it happened doesn't mean it's case closed. I'm like, you're the biggest idiot out here who refuses any new information.
Yeah.
So I didn't even bring up the JFK. I brought it up to a friend of mine who works at MSNBC, and I said, if the first Trump administration was supposed to release it, they did it. I said, all right, I'm going to hang on. I gave Biden a chance to release it. He didn't release it. Then I went to my friend at NBC, and I went, all right, I can't take this anymore. I got to give you what I have so that it'll shake something up, hopefully. And that's when I said the JFK part of the story, because I was like, the story that my dad's life is already enough. I didn't need to add it, and it was only going to bring me, garbage in return. Twitter, people
Drama.
on Twitter just,
Yeah.
you're this, you're that, you're a fucking liar, you're this, and I'm sitting there going, bro, don't read the comments and get out. Then but the only reason I did it was because they weren't releasing the files, and then finally now the files are coming out, but you're not going to find those papers have been sanitized over 60 years. Right. If you think, there's kernels here and there that are coming out that show deception, show, cover up of this, not admitting to this. So, but I don't think we'll ever get what we need. They're all dead. Look how long they've waited on purpose. So I just wanted that to be understood. The story, I didn't even want to tell my dad's story. I was hiding from that. It's not something that I thought was a great story to raise your children on. You know what I mean? So I wanted to raise my children without them knowing that. My son, damn you, Dad. You mean my dad is a spy? Scarface, and I can't tell my high school buddies I would have been the coolest kid in school, and I'm like, that's why I didn't tell you. That's why I didn't tell you, man, because it wasn't. So I hid for 40 years from that story until it was forced upon me. Wow. And then I did the book for my kids as their legacy left to them by their grandfather. Because I'm 62 years old. I'm not doing anything. I'm retired. I'm sitting in my recliner. And I'm just taking care of my family. So the book is my legacy, my dad's legacy for his grandchildren, and that's the way I look at it. So, but that's the story of why Monkey Morales was written and how it all came about.
That's awesome. Well, Rick, like I said, it's a fascinating book. Joe, hold it up one more time.
Yeah.
It's Monkey Morales. The link where you can purchase this off Amazon is actually in the description. It'll take you there real quick. And also, we have a link to
you go to monkeymorales.com.
Yeah, we have a link to your website as well down there that has a lot more information about Monkey Morales and the book. And Rick, thank you so much for joining us, man. We had a blast.
Oh, I had a blast. My pleasure, man. Anytime.
Yep.
And I'll get you Tosh Plumlee's info. You guys, I think you should have a conversation with that man. He knows David Morales. He knows about David Morales. So, because he's J-Wave. He's J-Wave. He's Gemini Wave. So
that would definitely be interesting, and I do thank you for finally coming out to tell your story. I know, even though I might have messaged you by mistake under false pretenses.
It
I'm glad I did because I
worked
learned a
out.
lot about your father, and the book is fantastic from what I've read, and I really appreciate your time. I know our
Thank you for having me.
audience definitely appreciates it, and thank you again.
Not a problem. Had a great time, guys. Take
All
care.
right, Rick. Thank you. We'll see you.
All right, man. Take care. I'll send you that
All right,
link.
Sounds
buddy.
good, buddy.
Bye.
There he goes, folks. Ricardo Morales Jr. The book is Monkey Morales. And I can't remember the subtitle, Joe. You got it in front of you. It's a long one.
The true story of a mythic Cuban exile, assassin, CIA operative, FBI informant, smuggler, and dad, which he was all of those things. Fascinating dude, and not someone that I was extremely familiar with like a couple years ago. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I don't know if he was involved in the assassination. I don't, I'm not a big subscriber to like the backup team type of thing, but I mean, it's hard to discount based on his
Yeah,
his
it sucks. They had
background.
to go to Dallas and sit in a hotel room and not clean up anything.
Right. Yeah. Well, they definitely made up for it in the Congo. I think he said he had hundreds of kills and gave him PTSD, his father, until he died. So
Yeah, that's a bad place to be in the middle of
yeah,
Africa
yeah, and
at that time.
it's crazy with that photo too. Almost a year to the day or two after the assassination, with the umbrella, mocking the umbrella coverage of the Bay of Pigs, which I think was the goal of that picture. Crazy stuff, man. I enjoyed it. So,
Yep, that's going to be us for this night. Stay tuned. In the near future, we have a book review headed your way here in a couple of days. And we'll be back next Wednesday for the members only show.
yeah,
And we urge everybody, if you love the show, make sure you give this thing a like and share it everywhere.
please do. Yes.
We would greatly appreciate it. Help us grow.
Hype. Use the hype button.
Yes.
We had our most hypes last episode, Rob.
Yeah, whatever that means. I don't even know what hype is, but hype the shit out of it. You know?
They maxed me out, bro. They said you can't hype anymore.
Yeah, we can't hype our own hypeness.
You can.
Except through Joe's burner account.
Both of them said you can't hype anymore.
You've hyped too much.
Yes. So thank you guys. I hope that was interesting. We have a bunch.
Great questions and comments in the show. We appreciate it. I think we were up over 50 people here live at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Still kicking it over 43 right now. So thank you guys. Like I said, smash that like button and share the show all over the place. We'd appreciate it. And check out Monkey Morales. If you enjoyed the interview, the book is great. Joe's got it. And who knows, we might do a book review on it here soon. You never know.
Never know. No.
You never know.
But I think his dad represents a lot of what the Cuban exiles we study ended up doing and their lives. There's a lot of similarities. So
yep. All right, Joe, grab the damn dog. Let me call Dino over here. Dino. Honor your sexy fat ass in here, sir. Bring your parasols, people. Let's give me all down.
she's not coming. She's smart.
All right, we'll just dance without it. That's fine.
The greatest lies are told in the name of truth. The greatest crimes are committed in the name of justice. The quotation is Jim Garrison's.
We love you, folks. We'll see you soon on the book review. And next Wednesday night on the members only. And next Friday, back on the live.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining in. We love you all. And yeah, we will definitely see you soon.
Until then.